Alright guys, happy Thanksgiving. Kids are at their mom's today, so I thought I'd do a little forging done. Today we're going to go ahead and do a feather incense burner that I do. We're starting with some 1/2-inch rebar. A little bigger stock would be better. It's all I have at the moment. Stay tuned, we'll watch how this one's done. Alright, so I got that nice and hot. You're going to start this one like you would a leaf. So we're going to go ahead and put a point on this end. Again, I'm going for a long feather here, so we want it nice and tapered at the end. Nothing too tricky. I'll make sure I didn't overheat that too much, but it looks good. Nice little point at the next step. We're going to flatten this out like we would a leaf. Kind of like that. Get those rebar marks worked back into the steel. Of course, if you haven't noticed, I'm out here in the snow today. Welcome to New York. Cooling down really fast. The handle's nice and cold. We'll go ahead and start stretching this out for width now. Alright, so we're going for about a lot of water on the anvil. We're going for about an inch and, I would say, 1.25 inches or so wide. So it takes quite a bit of stretching out. We don't want it too thick. We want it pretty thin. Of course, the wet anvil cools this thing down. Alright, when we get to where I think the end of that feather is going to be, we're going to drop this down like we would a leaf, because we got to bring that into a, well, it's not a stem, but a stem-like thing, like the quill of a feather. That's what we're going to call it, the quill. So we got to step that down a little. It's looking a little bit gnarly right now, but that's because I'm trying to keep it bent so I can get the heat where I want it to be. But I'm okay with that, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the texture in that feather first, because it'll be easier for me to handle with this stick on it. So again, just very much like I do with my leaves, I like to put some texture on the outside edge. I do that just by using a chisel down the edge. Again, it's supposed to simulate the ends of the feathers, and we'll do a little more than this, but just to get started, just to get that roughness on that outside edge. And do that to the other side. Alright, I'm kind of liking that. What we'll do next is put that center stem down through there. So what I try to do with the feathers that I don't do too far away with the leaves is I use like a double stem. Normally in the leaves you just do one. By the time I get where I want to be, I'm already offset here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect helps though. But you see what I did here? We're kind of going off at an angle. It's not actually horrible, but I don't think that's going to give me enough room for the double stem, so I'm just going to put a single stem inside there. Normally I like to do side by side, but in this case I think we're going to be fine. We'll go ahead and start putting some striations in at an angle to simulate the feathers. Alright, to start off, I'm just going to use the small cross beam to put in some of that texture. Just come in here at an angle and just work that edge out. Kind of like that. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can see that in the video. I'll come back and do the other side. Just out here on the end, makes that scroll on that holder a little bit finer to have that down to a nice Almost point. I think we're in good shape there. I like it. Get some nice texture in there, if you can see that. And I think we're in good shape. So what I'm going to do now before I start working on the scroll is I'm going to shape this feather. It needs to sit flat because it's got to sit on the table, but I want the edges rounded. So I can't just roll the thing over and make it round. I got to work the edges a little bit with a pair of pliers. Or something like this, just to get those edges rounded up. Alright, so I'm just going to start off just hitting it on the edge here. I'm not trying to round it in the middle, just on the edge. And we'll work a little bit to the middle. And you can kind of see, can you see that or not? Yeah, you can see it. It's lipping up a little bit there. Again, we want it to hold straight, but we also need a little bit of an edge there in order for it to catch the ashes. Do the other side. Alright, so I've done the other side. Lay it flat. I'm just going to hit right in the very middle here and put just ever so round on it, but enough so that it doesn't rock too much. And we got to make sure that it's sitting relatively flat from front to back. And I think we'll be okay. We'll fine tune that when we get done. I'm going to go ahead now and heat these edges up, just put a little bit more of a round with some pliers. So go ahead and do this a little bit at a time, and just grab the edge and just roll it up a little. I don't want it too drastic, I want it to look semi-natural, but we got to catch those ashes. It won't do us any good if we're not catching ashes. So the other side here, just on the very edge. Make sure we sit relatively flat again. I might run that wooden hammer right down the center. There we go. I'm liking that. So you can kind of see a good dish going on inside there. That'll be good as long as she doesn't rock and roll too much when we finish it up. A little bit of a shape here I want on that side. I'm liking it. Alright, let's get that scroll in. Alright, for scrolling, if you take a look, took a pair of regular needle nose. I just rounded those off so that I can get on top of this thing and just roll it right around the way I want it to be. Something like that. And get that scroll in there how I want it to be. This is all a game of tweaking. I'm just going to tighten that roll up a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that or not. Got a nice tight scroll going on. Yeah, it's a game of tweaking. And in the end, you're going to spend some time tweaking it. It's actually not the fastest project in the world, but it sure does look cool. So take the time and do it. Cool is what we're after, right? And I suppose quick and money is what we're after too, but cool works. So at this point now, what I need to do is bring this thing up and turn it so that it's in the right position. So one more heat, and I'm going to use the pliers inside it to help keep it from deforming too much. I'm going to bring it up. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Bring it up and twist it. Something like that. Where am I? There we go. Let me see. There you go. That's the angle that you're after. So I'm going to go ahead at this point, straighten these curls up a little bit, and I'll get an incense stick and see how it works. Curl adjustment tool, the best thing I find that works is a little screwdriver, because you can put that in, you can pry and twist and get things where you want it to be. It works pretty well. It works pretty well. Yeah, so now how I stretch that out so I get a nice length in there. I just need to get something narrow enough in there now to keep that orientation while I put it back where I want it. So you can kind of see what's going on there. I like it. They're relatively even now. We'll go ahead and see what it looks like. I'm going to take this one live because this usually doesn't work out too well, but this is the moment of truth. You put the stick in and you find out what you need. And if you take a look at this right now, it's just laying right down on the thing. So I need this to be tipped up like that. Something like that. we go back to the fire to do that, which sucks because we just cooled it down, but that's the way it works. Alright, after tipping that up, I got the right angle that I want, which is awesome. Alright, but if you take a look, I don't know if you can tell, let me see if I hold it. It's just a little too short. Not much. It's almost like, alright, I think I can sell that, but it's not good enough for me. So what I'm going to do is just roll this down and curl it up a little tighter. That I should be able to get about a quarter of an inch that way. And I'm going to just pull this back up a little farther away. See how she sits. Get your adjustments in before the snow cools you down too much. I think that'll be good. Let me just dip this in there. I'm going to clench a little. It sits pretty solid, which is good. Put that in there like that. And now we're good. We're back about a quarter of an inch. When that falls, it's going to fall back here. And I like it. I think that looks pretty darn cool. Very, very cool. Alright, let me clean it up. And I'll come back when it's done. Alright, we got it nice and cleaned up. It really looks sharp. I like that. It sits nice and solid. Holds the stick well. Let me just check the stick in there. Yep, holds the stick well. Nice and centered over the feather. Everything's in good shape. I like it. In reality, it's good. I mean, that's nice. It's pretty. Wax it and send it out. Wax it dark, wax it light. But I like to throw some of the purples in there just to give it kind of a, you know, a feather kind of look. A lot of birds have colored feathers, and I kind of like doing that. So I talk about doing that, adding some tempering colors. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and throw some colors in. What I'm trying to do is get some purple along the edges. That's kind of what I like to do. Add a little color to the feather, and then if I can, I want to color this spiral. Normally I use a smaller torch for this, but being so cold, I'm going for the big guns. I can see some purple in the back. Coming up. It's a tricky business because it can go gray very quick. And then I'm going to punch that in like that. Can you see those colors? Hopefully you can see that in the camera, but I got a nice purpley edge there. So I throw that in the quench to stop that from going. I'll do the other side. There. Punch that sucker. There. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. Yeah, I think you can. You see how it's darker on the edge? The camera's not picking up the colors. That's purple on the edge, gold and gray in the center. It really adds, I don't know, some depth to the thing. So with that part done, I'm going to go ahead and switch this around, and we're going to do this curlicue, because I like that to be colored too. That's going to take a little bit of heat. There we go. See, gotta get that quick. Because it was so thin. Where am I here? Yeah. Because it was so thin up here, I went from purple to gray really quick. I got nice purple back in this second one, and then back to normal steel. I like to carry the purple a little bit farther normally, but I think, I'll see what I can do right here. So that gold looks nice too. There's the purple coming in. I like it. We gotta be quick here. We don't want it to turn to gray, because that changes everything. That's good. I like it. There we go. Sorry for my obsessiveness, but I'm very happy with how that turned out. Got nice purples on the edges, and a nice purple stem here, or quill, and that's that. So we're going to dry this thing off, heat it up enough to take wax, and I'll be back. Alright, so I'm not trying to darken this thing up, but I do want to get a good coat of wax on it. So the hotter you go when you wax it, the darker it's going to be. But you do want to warm it up, especially if it's this cold out. My wax is solid. So we'll heat that up. I don't want any colors to go into it though. There's something on there I want. Just enough so that when I hit it with this wax covered cloth, the wax starts melting on it, which it's doing. It's doing a good job there. Even if the wax doesn't melt totally, we'll give it a coating now. just to get the wax impregnated, or at least stuck to it is what I mean to say, not impregnated. And then we'll heat it up again, and that wax, if you see, will melt right in there. And that'll give it a really good coating. It does darken it a little bit if you add the flame. If you notice it's getting darker, and I don't want that to get too much darker than that. So I will stop right there. Yep, definitely warm enough to do what I need to do. It's got a good coating of wax. I'm going to come back with, and this cloth looks dirty, but it's just wax. And I just kind of rub that wax in, polish it up a little bit. If you get inside the nook and cranny here with some wax, you hit it with some torch. Melt that out quick. Rub it out of there. So I guess you're getting a lot of detail on how I finish these things up, but I haven't shown that. So that's got a good coating of wax on it now. Oh yeah, it feels good. Looks good. Awesome. I'd say this is a success. Let's check it out. Ain't that the partiest thing you ever did see? Alright guys, here we go, another one done. I really like this. It's a pretty thing, nice colors, nice forging, an example of forging, and it sells pretty good too. So there it is, one feather incense burner. Wonder what's next.